Let's talk about green infrastructure. Green infrastructure is the use of nature-based solutions to make our community sustainable and resilient. Green infrastructure is effective, economical, and makes our community safer. It means planting trees and restoring wetlands rather than building water treatment plants. It means protecting our coastal communities from floods with living shorelines, not bulkheads. I went to Deal Island, Maryland, a vulnerable coastal community on the Chesapeake, to talk to the locals about green infrastructure in our changing society.
Have you noticed any changes during your time in Deal Island?
This is my 40th year of working on the boat by myself, so I've noticed lots of changes. For one thing, there's fewer young people doing the business that we're doing. There's more strain on the business that we are doing. Those things that have changed are that it used to be this was the only way to survive on the island. In other words, the roads weren't here early on. Everybody worked the water, or farmed, or picked crab. Less product because of bay pollution. They'll call it over-harvesting, but it's not over-harvesting. If it was over-harvested, there's less people harvesting now than it ever has been in the history of the bay. You're really looking for the problem. If you go back 100 years, there was hardly anybody living close to the bay, other than people who worked on the bay. Then everybody wanted a house on the bay. So now we have more people living directly on the bay, more pollution going into the bay, more runoff from all the blacktop in the highways, and all of those things.
Is in the weather with storms or erosion of the island?
Well,
or anything related to like sea level rise?
Sea level rise to me, and I've told this to many other people, I'm not saying it's not, I'm saying in my opinion, on the level on this bulkhead, I've been here 40 years. It's the same place it was when I was younger. Erosion of the land taken away because of the waves and the storms and the sea shrinks it back into where it looks like the tide is pushing in, but it isn't. It's the land leaving.
Right.
So we disagree with the sea rising over us as much as we do the land sinking into the ocean.
Do you think anything could be done to combat the erosion?
Well, we are doing some of the things. The bulkheads along the shoreline, the riprap. There's a couple things that the Deal Island Peninsula Project, which is part of the group, has been meeting now for about 5 years. There's a spot that they're going to try to do a virtual shoreline or some stuff that they're going to try to save the
I heard
shoreline.
about that, like the living shorelines.
Living shorelines, and they're hoping that'll work. And throwing their hands up in the air and saying, well, nothing we can do, but we are doing some things. And we're not sticking our head in the sand. We'll stay as long as we can, and then when the water gets so deep, we'll have to move on.
So what do you think you could do to make your community more resilient with the environment?
I think a lot of it is like the community just needs to come together and work together on all those types of aspects, because there's so much division about what should be done, what's the best thing to be done, and how to do it. And of course,
I think the Watermen's Associations and the Department of Natural Resources and our politicians all have to pull together to save this thing. I might be what to say, only some of us are born into that, and it's kind of hard to get out, I guess.
What do you think?
I think that some people think that it's not going to happen, but I think that it will happen over time. I feel like since the town is so small, it will definitely affect the people, but they won't have to move off of the island right away. It will still stay beautiful for a very long time, but it's definitely going to happen in time, just not right away. So, and
As our society is increasingly impacted by climate change, urbanization, and pollution, green infrastructure will only become more important as time goes on.